Have you ever wondered why some men seem to haunt a woman's thoughts, echoing in her mind long after she's looked away, becoming a pulse beneath the facade of her day? In the tapestry of modern dating, where banal gestures and surface-level conversation run wild, something rare emerges. The masculine figure whose presence lingers, whose influence is felt even in absence. He's not chasing. He is simply there, a gravity, unspoken, unfazed, unshaken. Beneath the swirl of social rituals and keenly crafted images lies a deeper psychology, a pattern as old as human tribe and as new as the next unread message. It's not the theatrics of grand gestures that brand a man into memory, but the subtleties of self-possession and the discipline to hold the line. The world teems with men who seek approval, who bend themselves into the shape of her expectations and dissolve with the first sign of indifference. But she does not remember the yielding, shapeless ones. She remembers the man who knows himself, who, with every glance and every pause, broadcasts a silent manifesto. My validation is my own. Imagine the power, then, of the man who listens more than he speaks, whose gaze is measured, whose energy is contained rather than sprayed. Evolutionary psychology whispers that women are drawn to the man whose attention is a scarce resource, not a flooding stream. When you deploy your attention with intention, brief, sharp, fleeting, and then withdrawn, you become the uncertainty, the riddle, the echo she attempts to solve. Your presence becomes a pattern interrupt in her world of ceaseless digital noise, a jagged heartbeat of authenticity amid the drone of male approval seeking. Do you understand yet the intensity of masculine detachment? This is not indifference. It is the conscious decision to anchor your worth in something immovable while the world tugs at you for reaction. The truth is, modern dating has become a game of emotional musical chairs. Most men leap to please, to entertain, to respond instantly, to show their value through constant signal. But here's the real paradox. The more you signal, the less you're seen. It's the silence, the delay, the pause, the carefully curated absence that grows larger in her mind than any pleasantry you could serve on demand. In the lore of ancient Stoics, Seneca mused that a man's time is his most precious possession, to be given with caution and only to those who have earned the right. How many men today spill their time recklessly, seeking not connection, but recognition from the object of their obsession? The man who moves differently, who disciplines his desire and cultivates a life worth living, regardless of whether she enters or exits, becomes irresistibly magnetic. His ambition is his purpose is untouchable, and when he looks at her, it is a gift, never a plea. Can you feel the shift? The man who captivates is not the smirking artist of pickup lines, nor the digital illusionist. He is the architect of his own world, improving, climbing, building, refining. In his presence, a woman senses her own elevated value simply by proximity to his ambition. She is drawn to him, perhaps even before conscious thought explains why. It's the confidence she breathes when he enters, the unhurried certainty in his words, the way he is present and yet never fully within anyone else's grasp. And if you, the observer, wish to become the man that lingers in her mind, it begins here, with self-respect so fiery, so non-negotiable, that it radiates unspoken boundaries. With standards so high that your life cannot help but feel full, whether love arrives or departs. With the courage to refuse the easy path of people-pleasing. Instead, you choose the harder discipline, becoming the man whose value is intrinsic, not handed down by fickle external validation. As night falls and silence stretches, she will think of you. She will wonder what you are building, who you are with, what wild ambition stirs behind your steady eyes. You will occupy space not because you chased, but because you chose over and over to stand firmly in the domain of your own becoming. In the end, desire is not manufactured. It is earned patiently by the one who dares to be entire, with or without her gaze. There she sits in the sanctuary of her private thoughts, scrolling through endless screens, bantering in surface-level conversations, her day marked by obligations and half-hearted distractions. Yet somewhere, you linger like a haunting refrain. The archetype of the unforgettable man is not conjured by accident. He emerges from the collision of primal biology and the realities of a world saturated with convenience, flattery, and manufactured connection. Masculinity today faces relentless dilution, eagerness mistaken for kindness, over-communication mistaken for sincerity. But the rare man understands what the Stoics taught, what a wise woman senses instinctually. True presence is built on the foundation of self-command. His posture speaks first, shoulders squared, not in arrogance but in certainty, his eyes unclouded by desperation or pretense. He inhabits any environment, cafe, meeting room, party, not as a supplicant, but as one who brings value simply by existing. She notices he does not compete for attention, does not explain or justify himself. That mystery multiplies, and like a moth circling a flame, her curiosity flares. In his restraint, she tastes possibility. In his silence, she suspects depth. Do you see it now? The man carved from discipline does not bend to every emotional gust. He says little, but when he does, words land with weight. A question, provocative yet subtle. A compliment, rare and vivid as a blood-red rose in winter. He refuses to be her entertainment, her distraction, her emotional wallpaper. Instead, he invites her into the gravity of his own world, a world she senses is full, vibrant, and immaculately curated with or without her participation. In the wild arena of attraction, the economy of your presence and the orchestration of your absence cannot be overvalued. The majority of men, in a bid to impress, give away too much of their attention, of their intentions, of their days and nights. The unforgettable man gives barely enough to intrigue, enough to signal interest without neediness, always stopping short of full surrender. She wonders, what secrets steal his focus? What passions keep him from immediately replying, from making himself endlessly available? It is a paradoxical dance. Every time you resist the urge to chase, to validate, to fill the uncomfortable space with more proof of your worth, you create the very scarcity that inflames her curiosity. In evolutionary terms, she recognizes the signals of a man with options, a man who is not driven by the hunger for her approval, but by the hunger for his purpose. This is the masculine edge, intentional, detached, unpredictable, both a question and a challenge. The social proof effect amplifies your value. Watch how her attention sharpens when you're respected by your peers. When others, men and women alike, gravitate toward your orbit. It is not about being the loudest, but about being the one who chooses where to invest energy and whom to invite in. She reads the coded language of confidence, of competence, of a life in motion. She wants to earn her place within it, not be handed it cheaply. Yet beneath the bravado lurks something gentler but no less formidable. The man at peace with solitude. She detects, sometimes unconsciously, the man who can turn his phone off and plunge into his own pursuits. A workout, a project, a meditation, an adventure, with zero need to broadcast or prove it. His lack of validation seeking destabilizes her assumptions and triggers the delicious uncertainty that underpins all attraction. Absence becomes a brushstroke, painting his presence with longing and speculation. This, then, is how a man becomes unforgettable. Not through relentless pursuit, not through endless representation or noisy declarations, but through the disciplined cultivation of his own value. The field is littered with men who beg to be seen, the one who cannot be easily possessed, who builds and steps away, who stands alone by choice, is the man she thinks of when the noise dies down and her soul seeks substance. Masculine energy, in its purest form, is the unmoved mover, a beacon blazing through the haze of modern indecision. She observes, sometimes unconsciously, the way a man's presence vibrates in the room, even when he speaks little. In an age where attention bleeds with every notification and men campaign for scraps of digital affection, it is not the most persistent who embed themselves in her memory, but the one who understands the value of withdrawal. To make her think about you every day, you must become the exception in a world of excess, a man who offers significance by rationing his presence, who crafts anticipation like a skilled composer holding back the crescendo. Picture the subtle psychological choreography at play. When you reveal too much, when every thought is on display, fascination dies the death of certainty. It is the measured reveal, glimpses, not declarations, that becomes irresistible. The mind, especially a woman's attuned to social cues and power dynamics, spins endlessly upon what she cannot readily decode. Perhaps it is the way you ask her to join, not out of need, but out of genuine desire. Her inclusion always voluntary, never expected. This is not game playing. It is the posture of the man who does not fear loss, because his core identity is intact with or without her. Deep within, she searches for strength dressed as availability, reliability, stability, but only when those gifts are given freely, not as a bribe for affection. The man who draws her in, then, is the one rooted in congruence, his words and actions echoing a singular purpose. She is drawn to consistency, steadiness, the comfort of predictability only occasionally disrupted by flashes of unpredictability. For it is the unpredictable, the moments when you seem caught up in your mission, unavailable because you are pursuing something grander than courtship, that makes her mind whirl with possibilities. In this landscape, detachment is your ally, not coldness, but the free acceptance that her affection is a gift, not a transaction. You do not beg, plead, or barter for her interest. Instead, you live abundantly so that when you choose to include her in your universe, its gravity is palpable. She senses, perhaps against her will, that your approval is not easily earned and never given through force of persuasion, but as the natural byproduct of mutual respect. Consider the modern man who has learned these codes. He is neither the reactive boy who jumps at every ping, nor the bitter cynic who expects the worst of women. Rather, he is the quiet sovereign, content with his path, gracious in his invitations, and unbothered by absence. When he speaks, it is to kindle thought, not to seek validation. When he laughs, it is genuine, a celebration of the moment, not a performance for acceptance. She will recall in flashes the effortlessness with which such a man moves, how even amid chaos he remains unhurried. His confidence is not aggression, but a silent contract. I will not be swayed by tides I did not summon. Her admiration grows not from what you offer on demand, but from the boundaries you keep and the self-respect you wield like an unspoken shield. In your presence, she finds an invitation to rise herself, to meet you on the level you have claimed through discipline and relentless self-examination. So do not confuse chasing with leading or attention with value. Instead, let women feel the pulse of your becoming, the expanse of ambition unfolding quietly in your daily actions. It is this momentum, steady, silent, urgent, that makes you unforgettable. You may not be visible at all moments, but you are present where it matters most, occupying her thoughts, echoing in aspirations she cannot name, lodged beneath the surface of every new encounter. The essence of his lingering lies in contrast. He is the pause in a world addicted to speed, the unsolved mystery in a narrative of quick conclusions. Within every moment of distance, she feels the echo of his standards, the boundaries that separate the exceptional from the ordinary. A man immune to the flimsy lures of instant gratification and easy comfort compels her to chase questions she rarely asks. What dreams consume his attention? Why does his approval feel earned, never assumed? Where in the quiet sanctum of his focus do I fit? The answer is never given outright, never packaged for instant consumption. This is the discipline of masculine magnetism, the art of restraining expression so that intent is never mistaken for need, never diluted by anxious repetition. It's the ability to invest one's energy in creation, work, health, fellowship, legacy, so completely that her presence, while welcomed, is always an additive, never a pillar. She senses the hierarchy, purpose, self-respect, and then, at a distant third, the rewards of connection. It is this alignment that renders him rare, a difficult catch, a valuable prize. Around him, social dynamics shift. Other men notice the respect he garners from his peers, the relaxed certainty with which he handles disagreement or disinterest. He doesn't posture or cling to status symbols, nor does he suppress authentic feeling. Instead, he channels every interaction through a filter of intentionality, never volunteering excessive emotion, never apologizing for standards. If she tests his boundaries, and she will, as all women do, he responds not with defensiveness or petulance, but with the stoic calm of a man who owes nothing to flattery. Her curiosity soon intensifies. When you vanish from her notification feed, not out of manipulation but out of focus, when you reply in your own time, not out of neglect, but from a place of genuine fullness, each interaction becomes a small event. From the gentle tease at a crowded table to the authentic compliment laced with playful challenge, you disrupt her trance. You force her to reflect. Emotional unpredictability, when rooted in integrity and not caprice, breeds longing. She finds herself speculating, imagining, and waiting for your next appearance, your next thought, your next glance. The man who leaves a mark does not overshare insecurities, nor does he build an impenetrable wall. He takes ownership of vulnerability, exposing it with discernment only to those who have earned his trust. This careful rationing of intimacy reflects the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. The unforgettable man guards both his mind and his heart, and in doing so, raises the standards of any relationship that enters his sphere. So much of attraction is unconscious. She may not be able to articulate why her thoughts drift to you, why your absence feels impending, why your praise matters more than the attention given away freely by countless others. But deep down, she knows. You are a man in tune with his own becoming, reverent of his own time, disciplined in the stewardship of his presence. This, then, is the ultimate paradox. In detachment, you become the obsession. In disciplined pursuit of greatness, you inspire pursuit in turn. Her fascination blooms not because you seek to possess her or because you surrender your standards, but because you master the domain of yourself. The world, noisy with need and anxious for attention, recedes when you stand upright in your own gravity. And so, you pass through her thoughts, an enigma, a challenge, a silent standard, etched not by volume of attention, but by the quality of your absence and the power of your presence. Master this, and you will become unforgettable. Even in fleeting encounters, his influence lingers, an undercurrent running through her day, subtly recalibrating her standards. She finds herself alert to the spaces where his presence once was, sensing that he is not easily swayed by beauty or persuasion, but by resonance, by the harmony of shared values and vision. The man who stands apart does so not to isolate, but to elevate. He refuses to dilute his energy in the pursuit of mass appeal or shallow validation. Each choice, each word, each withdrawal is a testament to the internal compass that guides his focus. Every action reflects a principle. He responds, but only when it aligns with his priorities. He offers warmth, but never at the expense of self-respect. When he enters her world, it is with intention, never by accident, and never from a place of lack. In the background, his routines, fitness, craft, ambition, camaraderie, unfold in disciplined rhythm, signaling abundance far beyond fleeting romantic attention. In this way, his desirability is multiplied. He is difficult to possess and impossible to ignore. When women speak of chemistry, of that feeling, they are describing the silent conversation of boundaries and unspoken expectations. The man who truly impacts her is not a puzzle to be solved, but a world to be explored. His passions, the landscape, his principles, the law. She senses that to stand beside him requires her own self-reflection, her own growth, and this alone makes him an anomaly. There are hints of vulnerability, yes, a fleeting openness here, a glimpse of tenderness there, but never given as currency, never weaponized for instant gratification. Instead, she is invited to earn trust, to rise in parallel, to meet him on the summit he's claimed through relentless effort. Over time, her memory reconstructs the cadence of his words, the tone of his laughter, the rare occasions he admits uncertainty or shares a vision of the future. She finds herself drawn to the man who stands for something, the one who never apologizes for setting terms, for expecting excellence, for declining to partake in the mediocrity that surrounds so much of modern dating. Even her friends notice her distracted gaze, the subtle urgency in her questions, the way shadows seem to dance across her thoughts whenever he's mentioned. It is not a game, it is a discipline. The discipline to risk being misunderstood rather than betray one's inner code. The courage to uphold standards while the world tempts with comfort and conformity. These are the men she dreams of. Those who, even in their absence, push her to become more. Not by force, but by example. Not by words, but by unwavering conviction backed by sustained action. As the days pass, she gathers small moments in her mind, an unexpected compliment, the challenge in his smile, the glimpses of purpose that stretch far beyond pursuit. She knows, perhaps for the first time, what it is to yearn for the approval of a man who refuses to twist himself for affection, who never sacrifices dignity for desire. This type of man, rare but attainable, leaves a mark that routine can't erase. In the end, masculine magnetism is not contrived. It's forged in patience, in silence, in moments of chosen solitude. It lives in the tension between giving and holding back, in the refusal to let longing undermine standards, in the deep-rooted belief that connection should complement a powerful life, not become its substitute. For the man who honors his own worth, attraction is no longer a chase, it is an inevitability. The man who knows his worth chases nothing, he attracts everything.